Over there, send the word over there, that the Yanks are coming, the drums coming everywhere. So prepare, say a prayer, send the word.
At this point, I'd like to say thank you for that round of applause that I knew you wanted to give me, as that was the most amazing thing you've ever seen in a social studies class. This morning, we're going to start looking at the second part of World War I. Now that the United States has entered the war, how does the United States go about preparing to participate in this global conflict? All right, first thing we need to look at is the United States military. All right, our Army and Navy is not prepared to fight the type of warfare that is needed, right, in this global conflict. So we have to look at a way to try and rapidly increase the amount of soldiers that we have available to be sent overseas. Right? And the government is going to look at having a draft or selective service, right, which requires all men ages 21 to 30 to register, right, to serve in the military. So this selection process allows the government to increase quickly the amount of soldiers who are available to fight. Right. The Selective Service Act was the official law. If you can go ahead and change, I noticed a typo in the notes that it said 1817. If you could please change that to 1917. Right, and this required all men of able-bodied age, right, no severe health issues, right, mostly 21 to 30, right, to sign up for military service. And then by the end of the war, right, we had nearly 3 million men had been drafted into the military as a result of the Selective Service Act. And then I got a cool map here, or a cool graph on the next slide, kind of showing you which states were able to supply the most amount of people. All right, so if you look at the bar graph, right, it looks like one of those things you make in art where you have the weird, I'll show you in class if you ask me. So if you're looking at the amount of people that were drafted from each particular state, you can see it's the more heavily populated states that were able to offer more troops for the war effort. So New York and Pennsylvania up at the top, you can see 10%, 8%, and then down at the bottom, Alaska, Samoa, Nevada. Okay, they're going to offer less amounts of the total percent of troops that are sent, right? And what this is really the generalization here you can see is that troops are pulled from all over the country. It's not just a handful of states that provide an awful lot of the troops, right? It really was a total national effort to prepare for war. Okay, our troops who are sent to fight in France. Now I know it's called a world war, and theoretically it should take place all over the world, but most of the fighting was taking place in France. France is going to be just decimated with World War I, so that's where they badly needed troops. If you remember, Germany didn't have to fight a two-front war when Russia left, so they could turn their full attention to France. That's where American troops were needed. And the leader of, they all served underneath General John Pershing, that's him down here, okay? He leads American forces. Right, very popular. You can see they made posters all over the country to try and kind of create the myth, right, that he was leading our soldiers to victory. Other people getting involved in joining the war effort. Okay, this is sometimes referred to as the home front. The war front or the battle front is where the war is actually being fought. The home front, okay, they're fighting a different kind of battle. They're trying to prepare soldiers. Supply them with what they need, whether it's tanks, airplanes, missiles, guns, things like that. Right. So 400,000 African Americans also join the military, and women get involved in the war effort as well. So you can see when you're looking at it in terms of society as a whole, lots of different pieces of society are coming together and joining the war effort and contributing in any way that they can. So women, even though they're not able to actually serve in combat at this point, there are still plenty of opportunities for them to contribute to the war effort. Right, so go ahead and pause it at this point, whether it's hit spacebar or just go ahead and click on pause. I want you to think about what social changes did the war effort bring about, meaning how did the war change people's daily lives at this point? Continuing on, right, how does the government mobilize the population, meaning that how does the government prepare the population or rely on the population? So the fact that this is a war unlike any war that the United States has ever fought in, right, the government needs to get the support of the entire civilian population versus the Spanish-American War. Okay, remember the quote was a splendid little war. You really didn't need total civilian support right? But now for this kind of conflict, the government needs to make sure that the American people are on board and helping in any way that they can. Right, so the first big way that the government tries to get the support of the people is through issuing war bonds. These are simply just quick temporary loans, right, that the civilians made to the government. The government can then use that money to buy resources, goods, things like that, and trade for more materials as well. So war bonds, that's one of your vocab words. Okay, and then I got a couple of posters. All right, and these are just a couple posters that government, these are going to be referred to as propaganda posters, meaning they're posters with a message. They're trying to get you to feel or think a certain way or to do something. All right, so the main trend in all of these messages or all these posters was to get you to support the war effort by purchasing bonds. All right, so if you look at this poster up here, it says, if you can't enlist, invest, buy a Liberty bond, defend your country with your dollars, meaning it's trying to, convince you that even if you can't serve directly in the military, there are still ways that you can support the war effort. All right, and then down here, feed the guns with war bonds and help end the war. Boys and girls, you can help your Uncle Sam win the war, save your quarters, buy war-saving stamps. All right, additional ways that people could support the war effort was through conservation, meaning valuable resources, right, that soldiers could use. The civilians were expected to conserve or save as much as possible. So things like collecting cans, paper, rubber, planting victory gardens, meaning if you could grow your own food, that's more food that was able to be sent. You didn't have to buy it at the store. It could be sent to the troops, limiting the use of gas, wheatless, meatless days. Right? Essentially, the less we used at home, the more our soldiers would be able to have. Right? And then government has to get involved and try and monitor the economy to make sure that the entire nation is directed towards supporting the war effort. So the government creates what's referred to, an organization referred to as the War Industries Board, right? And that simply controlled the economy during a time of war to make sure that adequate supplies were being produced, that prices were being stable. There wasn't businesses that were trying to make money off of the war, by raising prices, things like that. And they also controlled wages. So to try and keep workers working and working hard, okay, the government would try and raise prices a little bit during a time of war as an incentive for workers to continue